And now, an XCW special presentation of Men of Honor Season 5.
Welcome to XCW's Men of Honor. Today, joining me are the more known men in the XCW roster. Former history-making 10-time world champion, Kenny Hazard Chaos. Man who's got a couple world titles under his belt himself is the Solution Riot Grayson. A man who went from 0 championships the first 3 years of his career to winning, 5, 6 within the next 3. Dyer Corey Lee. And a man who is currently Mr. Money in the Bank and is currently looming on the championship picture, Prince of Pain, James Gerke. Today we're going to be talking about men who necessarily weren't XCW champion. They weren't Money in the Bank winners. They weren't even a tag team champion. They weren't even good enough to have a partner. They didn't even win belts that don't exist in XCW. They didn't even get Rookie of the Year awards. These are the better unknown. Now, what this is all about, we're going to talk about some of the, let's just put it this way, lower class of XCW. Whether they be the ones that came in for a few shows and failed, never really got off the ground, or just made some one-off appearances. And we're going to discuss each one of them, and then we're also going to agree to disagree, or however, and give our opinions on would they have made it in the XCW had they stayed. First off, someone who seems like, a couple of these you guys may not know. Some of them will be just myself and Hazard, but this is the case for one of those. First name. A man who tried to avoid you for most of his career. Spitfire.
Actually, I never really seen him wrestle except for one time.
Right.
So he avoided you well.
He did.
Very well.
Every show that I was at, he was not. And every show I was not, he was.
Pretty much went like that. For an entire season.
How does that work?
2004 and all of the beginning of 2005 before he left.
He camped out and watched.
His last show in 2005 was the first show that Hazard was at. Coincidence, but still.
Not.
No, I really think it was, but
Spitfire, from what I understand, I never actually got to really see him except for what we have in our archive, but he wasn't terrible.
no, he's a talented kid.
For what he knew at the time, he was not bad. Would he have lasted? I don't think with the way we are now. I don't think he would have. If he would have grown and molded with us, maybe.
The Cruiserweight division died, and I think he would have died with it, though. Honestly. This is kind of the same way Colton Kravitz did. Another one I'm going to just touch base on, just to get the name out there, is the only one that I would know. The next two are. First up is Enrique Lowe. Enrique was the first person ever released by XCW in 2003. XCW started in March of 2003. He was with us until about July. He was much younger than us. I'd say a good 5 years or so. So he was much younger, a lot less immature. You got to think, this is 2003, and I'm only 27 now. So we were all immature, but this kid was immature, and he was full-blooded Spanish. He's Mexican, and I don't know if he did it as a joke or whatever. It wasn't show related, but he desecrated the American flag, and I soon released him for that. I think with his lack of ability, although I think he could have been taught well, because, I mean, honestly, have you ever seen a Mexican wrestler that was really that bad of a wrestler?
The original Sin Cara.
What's his face used to be Del Rio's butler.
Ricardo was good.
Ricardo.
Hunico, I think it was.
Hunico's
Camacho.
awesome.
Camacho.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Hernandez.
It's because he's a musclehead. But I'm talking about Enrique Lowe. This kid was real small. I'm sure, fully grown now. He's probably Corey Lee size. But he would have never molded. He would have never made it. His attitude would have caught up with him. Kind of like the final days of Ox Cannon, kind of thing. Next person I want to touch base on is Nitro Boy, which nobody knows. Nitro Boy, he was even a little bit younger than Enrique Lowe. He's around the same age group as Brendan Stickle. And again, that was 2003. That they were very, very young. But I think Nitro Boy, had he stuck around, would have molded into a huge star, in my opinion. Complete opposite of what Enrique Lowe was. But moving on, the next person we're going to talk about is the name of this is The Better Unknown. This one is The Unknown. The Unknown, Jimmy Olby. I only have one word to describe him, and that's dick.
I would agree.
But
I didn't wrestle much with him. He was only there, one show that I was?
Right, yeah.
He obviously went on to wrestle for JCW, but JCW at the time was championship wrestling,
Right.
as they called it. So it wasn't the best wrestling, and he wasn't the best wrestler. I think, not, toot my own horn or nothing, but, me coming in, being another big guy with Darren.
Right. Since he was already in the show and known as the big guy, you kind of took that role over, right?
Yeah. Me and Darren coming
Heber
in.
Hammer, yeah.
And pretty much being the big guys that were taking over the tag team division at the time. Then me later on becoming, now 10-time world champion.
Corruption was coming in at the time as well.
I don't think he would have been around much longer.
You guys know him personally, not necessarily from his days at XCW. Do you think he would have, had he stuck around, do you think he would have made it? Would he have ever been anything in XCW?
Dude's just sloth. Yeah, it's a lot to do with his body image. I mean, the dude's just fucking big.
Yeah, he is a very, very big
He wouldn't have been able to move enough to do a full match. Maybe 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, I feel like he did move pretty well. You've seen him wrestle a match. I think it was with Rubber Band Man and maybe Cyrus or someone like that. No, I think it was Convict and Rubber Band Man. So it was. And two names that I don't even have on this list that we should probably talk about. But the Unknown, I think, had he kept... I don't think he would have ever made it because he always felt like that he needed something else to accomplish. He went from Justin Parsley's BYWE to XCW, which was, of course, as we've talked many times, was a step up. His time here was a short 3-4 months, and then he went on to the next bigger thing. And, good for him to make it to something that's well known and, into a ring, but you're right. Yeah, he probably would have never have made it. Next person, Skylar Stone.
Skylar Stone would have made it. We threw him in there with the Disciple at one time.
And Disciple wasn't exactly known to be
very good.
Right.
But the match looked good. And I think, we personally got to wrestle him out in EBW.
Yep, the original EBW, yep.
And he was definitely good. Could have been into something really good for us.
And
if he would have stuck around, he was a huge wrestling fan, so he knew.
And to this day, I talk to him every single day. Yeah, and he's still
work with him.
Yeah, he's still very much into wrestling that he was then. And as a matter of fact, he's soon to be giving me. He owned his own company back in the day, and he's going to be soon to give me all that footage. So I'm going to own a copy of yet another show of Backyard Wrestling Company.
Well, when he does it as NAW.
It's because there's nothing.
It's because it's not recorded.
Corey Lee, you've seen Skylar Stone make a one-night return a few years back. I believe 2012 it was.
During Extreme King, wasn't it?
During the year that Chris Jones was missing.
Was it Extreme King or was it the Alumni Challenge?
It was the Alumni Challenge. It was during the Alumni Challenge. So it was a few years ago. 2012, I want to say, I think.
This is a while back, yeah.
2012. What do you think? You've seen him wrestle the one match against Eternal Darkness. And you've seen all the Alumni that year.
Well, it's not much to wrestle somebody like Eternal Darkness.
Right.
So you can't really base anything off of that. I mean...
But judging off some of the other people, like maybe Shy Show, or... Obviously it wasn't... I don't know, she put on a pretty impressive match too. But,
he did...
He has a good attitude, he's very knowledgeable.
He did impress. He wasn't bad out there whatsoever. I think he did pretty good. I think with he obviously knows his wrestling.
Right.
Like you said. So obviously with training and stuff like we have, and if we ever move up and get a ring and stuff like that, I think he could put on some good things.
Next person we're going to talk about, some more recent that everyone here was a part of. And he was actually a former star in your company, but was very, very unknown in XCW and only made a one-time appearance. And I'm talking about Alec Romy.
Actually, it's weird that we're talking about this because we were just talking about this at dinner.
Yeah.
Alec was very good at the time, so I think if he was stuck around, he could be something. Is it Nick or Ryan, whatever?
Is his brother.
Is his brother.
Yes.
And said that he does learn very quickly. So who's to say that he wouldn't be a champion?
Right.
When he puts his mind to something, he can become good at it. His problem is his attitude and his commitment to things.
Right.
I mean, if he would have stuck around, yeah, he would have been great. I mean, when I wrestled him during the Extreme King match a couple years back, he knew how to take a bump. It might not have been the correct bump,
Right,
but he knew how to take a bump. So, he does have some sort of natural ability
Yes,
to him. It's just
he
a
has
matter of
commitment to jail.
commitment.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm counting the days till that next stint happens.
But
Sorry,
yes,
bro.
I think Alec Romy could have definitely been something. I mean, you witnessed, just from that was the kind of what he did in the Extreme King Battle Royal is how far along we were.
Right, in that time period, which would have been late 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, he was missing a good 15 years worth of training,
Knowledge.
commitment, and knowledge in wrestling to what we have.
But he didn't get any worse.
You're right. And that does happen. That does happen. Like, for example, Cyrus was great during his run. When he came back for the Alumni Challenge, it was all forgotten. It was like starting from scratch completely all over again. So, yeah, it can happen. Luckily, it never happened with this guy. Just saying. Anyone else want to add to that?
You witnessed it, and did you?
Yeah, I
mean-
wrestled Alec a little bit. I mean, the only thing that really got botched was when I put him into my Indian death lock.
And he went
We
through the
rolled the
fence.
wrong way. We rolled
Yeah,
the wrong way.
I remember that.
And kind of fucked my knee up for a week or so, but yeah.
Well, that's one of those things, though.
The
He's
deathlock,
not
yeah,
the
it's
advance.
yeah.
Of,
Because anybody that knows, like, whenever I'm in a deathlock with somebody, like, I'll look at it this way or that way, depending on what leg I use. We have to roll a certain way, because if not, it will fuck me up. It's one of those tricky leg submissions.
When I
Luckily, I
was,
don't use it all the time.
That's
but-
just inexperience.
When I was in there with him, I didn't wrestle with him very long. I just did a couple moves, but he listened very well and he did what he was supposed to do. And I mean, other than that, I think if he had the commitment and the better training, he'd be champion.
So what do you guys
Champion,
think?
stuff like
If it ever came down to it, this is the most we've talked about on anyone in here so far. If, he was willing to commit someday, do you think we'll ever see him in XW?
Yes.
Really?
If he just put his foot down and stuck with it, yeah.
if he committed to it and it was something that kept him out of jail and stuff like that, and something obviously to do with friends and get along with other people, and
Right.
something other than spending time in jail to do.
Right. Some of these people, like I said, made more than one appearance in our show. They were just less unknown. They never broke the glass ceiling of what they needed to. Some may never have held championships, so on and so forth. Some never even made it on camera. And that's what our next two is going to be about. First up, Crazy David Frazee. You were just starting at the time. We traded him. So,
And he was good.
what went wrong?
He was good. He was damn good. He had an attitude. He had an attitude and an ego. He was Chris Jones reincarnated.
Yes.
But Chris has made it.
Huh?
But Chris has made it. I don't know
That's
how,
what
but-
got him. I think him and Chris were going to end up butting heads, and that would have ended up getting him out.
See, Chris
But
knows.
he-
I don't
also-
even know the guy well enough to even have an opinion of him.
I do know him. Chris knows how to leave something in the ring and leave it at that. David, on the other hand, something would happen in the ring, he would take it outside to real life. And it would just spiral downhill from there.
That makes sense. Anyone else want to add anything? Next up, Corey's gonna love me for this one. No more.
I don't even.
Technically, everybody's going, wait a second, he was UIW. No, actually, before UIW, we trained him in XCW. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
I
The
don't
same
remember
day,
this guy.
the same day as David Frazee.
I don't remember that. I remember Frazee.
I don't remember Melball either.
Mel Mall. And then when he just could not get a bump, we ended up teaching him as a referee. He later went to UIW as a referee that was later turned into a wrestler. All of it was tragic.
It was fucking terrible, and that motherfucker. Me and Chris Jones about beat his fucking ass. Like, we were going to literally fuck him up in the middle of a match. It wasn't even going to be wasn't gonna be. No, he was gonna die. He bit Chris. He fucking
Who
bit
bites?
Chris.
Who bites? I don't even remember training this guy.
No, yeah.
He's forgettable. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I remember him from UIW.
So he would have never made an XW.
No, he wouldn't.
Okay. Not even as a ref?
No, he didn't even make it in UIW.
Well, I was going to say, Spitfire's brother was a referee. And he's slower than dog shit.
Well,
Papa Woody, come on now. You don't think he could have made it as a ref?
probably
No.
not. It's about like what Ryan here just said about David Frazee. He has an attitude also. Like when he got into it with me and Chris, is because he got pissed off at Chris because Chris did something to him. So then it turned into a match between me and Chris, and he was supposed to stay out.
Sounds like DTC.
Yeah, so he got pissed off about that and came over there and attacked me and Chris and ended up biting Chris, and then we ended up beating the shit out of him to get him out of the match.
If he would have bit me, I would have fucked him up.
I think
A WMD would have been in his fucking future.
I think we actually had to stop the match, and me and Chris didn't even finish the match.
Wow. Good job, Justin Parsley.
God, it was that bad.
Moving on.
Punch him in the face.
Moving on. This person left for a very different reason. I mean, everyone has a different reason. Do we really know why David Frazee left? No. Do we know why Mel Mall never left? Yeah, we know why he left, because he sucked, and we told him. He was the only person I think we've ever trained. We just told him not to come back. It was just not going to work out. We didn't even give up on Nemesis. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, he was bad. He was bad.
But like David Frazee, I don't know exactly what the downfall was. You know, here's another one of those. We know what the downfall was, and it's the most unique one out of the group. Talking about Too Sexy, Tyler Branson. Tyler made one appearance in XCW at Cold Day in Hell, 2009, I believe it was. 2009, 2010.
It was
2010.
James Keen's.
Cold Day 2010. He ended up leaving the company. We later found out that it was because of his sexual preference.
He's gay, people, in case you didn't know.
He loves the cock.
And he was kind of afraid of XCW's locker room's reaction. I, on one hand, was like, hey, you know what? He can bring a bag of dicks and suck them here if he wants to. I don't care.
Big bowl of
But
dicks.
for whatever reason, Tyler didn't feel comfortable enough to continue his time in XCW. He had one match against Joker at Cold Day. What do you think?
Was the match good?
It was okay. I'll leave it at that.
His character was good.
I know.
We had Tyler
we-
Breeze before Tyler Breeze.
Right, we had Tyler Breeze before WWE ever thought of it.
But I don't think he would have made it, because now knowing him more on a personal level, he would.
He can't even hold jobs, let alone.
Yeah.
You know Tyler, right?
I'm surprised he works at Low Bob's.
Last time I knew, he was working at Speedway.
No, he works at Low Bob's now with my sister, so.
And the last time I really talked to him about a job, he was
working at
working at a
Denny's.
shoe show.
He was working at Denny's like not even 2 months ago, wasn't he?
Something like that, yeah.
Was he?
I don't
live
fucking
at
know who it
Denny's.
is.
Yes, you live at Denny's. Come on, tell
I
us.
don't
You
know who he
everybody.
is.
So,
Hey,
now,
if I live at Denny's and don't know who
so
he
we
is,
all
that's saying
agreed
something.
that Tyler Branson was not going to go anywhere.
No, he wasn't.
What about even after his best friend Jesse Justice came into the fold years later? Do you think that if Jesse would have been in XCW at the time, do you think that would have changed Tyler Branson's mind?
I don't think so, because I feel he's too nervous about his sexual preferences, and he's afraid if anybody else new comes in, they're going to judge him.
Rumor has it that one of the reasons he wanted to be a part of XCW in the first place was because he thought that Chris was sexy.
We could always tell him Chris has turned.
Moving on. Here's somebody that you're going to forget. These guys all know him. I can't stand him. I'm not going to say much about it. I'm just going to leave it here. His name is Virus. We wrestled at James Keene's house. There's that big guy. His name is Nicky.
Oh!
The one that wrestled-
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
His name is Virus. He came in for a short time and said, "Our wrestling's not real enough for him."
Well,
No,
I
no.
know him. I know
This
him.
guy's a piece of shit.
I know him. I know him on a personal level. Him and his brother, like when they would wrestle growing up, they actually would literally beat the living shit out of each other.
Right, and he
with
later on, after he claimed to be such a big tough guy, he first backed down from a confrontation with Chris Jones, Billy Badass, and then also wrestled with Chris and Chris's company for a short period of time, I believe, or wrestled with someone that I talked to at the time, and said that he was doing the exact same thing and was pussing out of half the things he was supposed to be doing because he thought that it was too rough.
Was it with his back? I think that would've done-
Probably
Because
his
he
back.
actually does have a bad back. He's like
Probably from all the dumb shit he
Stevie
did
Goble.
beforehand.
Stevie Goble.
Stevie Goble. That's all I'm gonna say.
Scoliosis.
Poliosis. No, nobody said that joke. Never mind.
Shut
Moving
the
on.
That guy is the biggest worthless piece of shit I've ever met in my life.
If he has such back problems, he shouldn't came in. He shouldn't even want to wrestle.
No, they probably developed from all the stupid shit he did.
Probably.
Okay, if that's the thing, I'm perfectly fine.
Have you seen some of the stupid shit Dean Ambrose has done?
I don't care. All I know is that guy's a piece of shit. Let's talk about him.
He's a piece of shit.
I don't know. I don't.
But they know
remember.
him on a personal level, so there might be something I'm not seeing. I don't know. Apparently, he's a big bad brawler and he beats up his brother.
I
What
don't
did you
know.
do?
I
I
don't
beat up
know.
my dad and went to jail. Does that make me a badass too? Just saying.
You
Yes.
can't really be a badass if you don't have an ass.
No. Next up. This one's even a more unique situation than Tyler Branson. Talking about Ratitude.
Oh my god!
I don't think we should talk
Are
about
we even
this.
allowed to talk about this?
pass.
He would have never made it at all. Him or her.
You don't think he could have had a good match against Michaela and McClure?
I don't think it would have happened.
I don't even.
I got nothing.
We can't refer to it as a he anymore. It is officially a she. Okay?
It's an it.
It can be that too.
Shit.
It she. She it.
Shit.
Shit.
No,
She.
no. In all seriousness, I don't think she would ever done anything.
God damn it.
It is a she!
She would have never done anything. I mean, you seen how he acted when me and Reefer.
Hit him with the...
Yeah, I can't do it now.
They
He
use our
would have
pronouns.
never
Roddy.
done it.
Can we move on?
Yes.
She.
She it.
Damn it.
Daniel Pierce.
Who the fuck is Daniel Pierce?
You just watched him.
Daniel Pierce was a member of a really famous team in XCW, like a very popular team. Talking about Team 2 Extreme. Blaze and Rage were obviously the two more better known of the group, and the guys that were here for a longer tenure. They were here in 2003, then left, came back in 2005, and spent a majority of 2005 as members of the roster. When they became a trio, Nick Klaus and his brother Cash joined forces with Joey Cade, which we're going to talk about next. They were in a trio called Void 56. They were feuding Team 2 Extreme, Blaze Rage, and Daniel Pierce. Daniel Pierce only wrestled 1 or 2 times, I
I think
believe.
it was only twice.
So, what happened?
Lost interest. He just completely lost interest in it.
His skater brethrens, Team 2 Extreme, Void 56, Knuckles at the time, were a huge success story, especially Knuckles and Nick Klaus. I don't even think he ever got off the ground, to be honest. I don't think he His moves weren't up to par. His bumps awful. He was the only downfall, I believe, in that whole story between those two teams. But moving on, a completely different side of the coin, but in the same situation, Joey Cade.
Joey Cade could have been something.
I believe so too. I loved Joey Cade. And even Joey Cade eventually broke off from the Void 56 and Team 2 Extreme and did a partnership with Knuckles against the forming Hispanic Chronic.
And in the time frame, yes, he was very good. And if we put him now, yes, I think he'd still be very good.
And I don't even think that he necessarily lost interest either. I don't know exactly what the downfall was.
He just, I don't know.
He's a sad and confusing story, honestly. Next up, someone that everybody could hit on a little bit, except maybe James Gerke. Jay Banks.
Good old Jay Banks.
Promos were good.
Yeah, and I mean, his character was based off of someone else's character. And obviously, he's not the true life brother of Ben Banks, but Jay Banks had the character. Ben Banks never worked out. He was given pretty much a refurbished character to himself. Similar to the way that James Cerebral did.
Jay Banks had a character. That's really about it. I didn't think he was very good. Could he have been good? Maybe.
From what I've saw, it looked like a Jesse Justice kind of situation where the character made the position.
Right.
Not.
Well, Jesse Justice had a pretty strong run, in my opinion, which is why he's not on this list.
Yeah.
Just like my brother, Commitment. I mean, it's no secret he's my fucking cousin.
Right.
But both of them, fucking peas in a pod, Commitment. The only difference is Jay hasn't been to jail.
I just think that money, drugs, and motorcycles and girls and, a more wild lifestyle than, just something to tie him down every Saturday. Became more of a priority.
Mm-hmm.
He was only here for the beads.
Right.
He was only here for the
He was even a member of the inaugural King of the Mountain match, which is history. He was just getting ready to begin a program with Brandon Hobbs on his exit. It's kind of too bad. I wanted to see Jay work out, commit, but there was even times where we tried to invite him back for battle royals and, some one-off appearances, the Alumni Challenge, all went completely blind-eyed to him.
Just a quick question. Before my brother actually did an XCW match, and obviously we know now that Ryan Riggs is related to us.
Yeah.
Am I the third family member you've had in the show?
Fourth, Colton.
Colton, that's right. Never mind.
Shy Show.
I was going with the whole third time's charm thing, but I forgot about Colton and Shy.
He wanted
I really
to
don't
feel
count because she
special.
didn't. Did she wrestle?
There's even more.
Even more. How many
even more.
fucking people are we related to in this town?
We're my stepbrother. The next one on our list is related to us.
You're the second.
Really?
Simply amazing, Chase Luther.
Oh God.
I do.
Yeah.
Chase. Now there's somebody who really could have been good. Because he was
And you were in this division at the time.
Yes.
So you have some good input.
He was very good. He was a lot better than Jesse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Should Justin Sane be on this list? I mean, he was full couple seasons. That's why I didn't put him on the list. But
Did he go?
I mean, if they didn't rise.
he never did. He never did win a championship or anything.
honestly, I'd flip that around. Chase, while he might not
But
have been
Chase,
long.
but this is the better unknown. People who missed, had a one-off appearance or just.
Okay.
I think Chase Luther only made maybe 3 or 4 matches. He debuted in the Cruiserweight Open.
Hurt, didn't he?
I think so. He wrestled in the Cruiserweight Open to start. He finished out 2009 season into 2010 or something like that, I believe. And then he ended up, didn't he hurt his shoulder?
Shoulders or rib, wasn't it?
Something like that.
I can't remember.
He was in a sling, I believe.
I know he hurt himself.
I think he was in a
Like,
sling.
he actually got hurt.
By
pretty
cold
bad.
day of the following year, he was in a sling. And he was originally supposed to be, he was supposed to be Justin Sane's partner. And it ended up being Corey Lee as Justin Sane's partner, because Justin Sane and Corey Lee were in a feud at the time. In the Cruiserweight division. I believe Dorgon or Psycho Circus Clown were kind of back and forth on the title.
Yeah, I believe they were. I believe when I came in, it was Dorgon as champion. I'm pretty sure.
Chase
Corey
Luther,
Lee is long, flowing
what
hair.
went wrong with Chase Luther?
He just
After
got
his
hurt.
injury,
Yeah,
he just lost it.
He was really into it when he started, and I mean, he wanted to do it. He was good. He could have.
I think he was better than Justin Sane as a total package if he would have stuck with it. I mean, Justin Sane started out on fire, and in my honest opinion, I think he was better starting out. Okay, it's going to be hard to say this. I don't want it to sound wrong. Starting out at the exact same time was Chase, Justin Sane, and Corey Lee. And I think out of the 3, the most promising to start was Justin Sane. Of course, he blew that completely out. And that's not just saying that because here we are 10 damn seasons later and he's still here. I'm just saying, overall, character, wrestling ability, everything, he blew them all out. But to start, it was just insane. But why? Chase Luther is almost like a mystery.
Like we said, if he didn't get injured, and I feel he wouldn't have lost interest, he could possibly still be here. I don't know if he would or not.
I think the main reason why he was so interested is because we were wrestling there. I think when we moved, I think he would have really lost more interest.
He seen what we were doing there at the time with people like Tommy there and stuff like that. He wanted to be a part of that kind of.
And the Cruiserweight division was hot.
Yeah.
We had a Cruiserweight Open with 10 Cruiserweights in one match. The Cruiserweight division was hot. And this was even before, LOL and Reefer weren't even in the Cruiserweight picture at the time. They were off doing tag team division with Nightmare and Devil. So, and we even had some oddballs on the roster at the time. Drago, which didn't make it on this list because honestly, he won some championships and was around for a while.
And he actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah, he developed pretty good over time.
It took a long time.
He
Commitment issues then too.
And he robbed us.
Yeah, he did. He robbed a lot of us.
He took my damn phone.
Yeah.
My $60 headphones.
So there's 2 more members of the family in there. Speaking of family, technically it should be our family if you judge by story. Next is Ben Banks, the originator of the crime time gimmick, basically. Again, someone who killed it in promo. It had a killer character. Even showed some off signs of being good. Of course, the more successful was Kyle Victim out of the 2 of them.
Well, look where Kyle Victim was coming from.
Bloodline of Tommy the Man Merriman, brother.
Not saying that that's, something that's... you gotta have something else there. Ben Banks, all you're gonna remember him by is the dick punch. And his promo with me. Him still in my wallet.
Yeah.
His match, can you remember anything but that dick punch?
honestly, his finisher.
Stoled.
Stoled was the name of his finisher. So basically, if he was wrestling you, he would do the FML.
Oh, that cheeky son of a bitch.
If he was wrestling you, he'd be doing the spear or the solution.
Probably the spear.
Or, yeah.
Since he would never see the solution.
Fuck you, buddy.
And it was called Stoled. He didn't want it called the FML. He didn't want it called... And I thought that was very unique, very cool about him. He actually did the Victimizer to Kyle Victim to win his first and, I believe, only match in XCW.
But Ben, he's just like Jay. He had that gimmick. He wasn't very good. I loved Ben. Me and Ben and you actually were together a lot. And Ben was a very good dude. I don't know what it was. I think it was because we got in trouble.
Yeah, he went to jail. Yeah. Next up, Dark Slayer.
That was someone else that was really good. Like, okay, here's the weird part.
I mean, technically, he shouldn't be on this list because he was television champion, but
Here's the fucking thing. I'm gonna say he's really good, but yet he was in one of the worst matches in XW history.
But on the flip side of that, Dylan Bostic was the person he was wrestling.
See, that's the thing. It's so fun. How did that happen?
Maybe, and we can't say it was their chemistry because later on in 2005, they had a killer match.
And Dark
Why
Slayer,
I would book them a second time is beyond me, but I did.
It's probably because they worked so much together, though. Too,
Right,
if you
yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
When they were training in Fairland.
Yeah.
But Dark Slayer, would he have matched up to us now? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And he had hella charisma.
But his passion was music.
And he was very good at that, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We went and seen him that one time, and he had hella charisma, and he could talk. Oh, God, he could talk. Come back.
Rubber Band Man.
Do you have a hard on?
Yeah, I love Dark Slayer.
He was a good guy.
I mean,
Okay. Rubber Band Man and
Now I'm going to drink my sodas away.
Rubber Band Man and the Convict.
Honestly, I can't even tell you about either one of them.
They were both terrible.
Wasn't one of them...
They were there because they thought it would be fun. They were like XCW's version of Harold and fucking Kumar. They did it because they thought it was cool. They thought it was fun. Like, they're the real life fucking Beavis and Butthead.
Like,
Wasn't one of them, their backstory was they got a tryout, lost, and then came back and had another one and still lost?
No, you're talking about Captain Crook.
Oh my God, the guy with the crooked eye.
I didn't even put him on the list.
I'm so glad I did not have to wrestle him.
like, is it as bad as
Captain Crook wrestled. He wrestled Psycho Circus Clown in the first match. It was a July 2004 show. He wrestled Dylan in the first match as Psycho Circus Clown. Then later on, he was like, "Well, can I get another chance?" And it was Cynical's stepbrother or whatever. So we're like, "Yeah, let's give him another chance. Cause let's try him out." Because he did take a killer choke slam. So we're like, okay. So we put him against Biohazard. It was 1,000 times worse the second time. He makes the Brooklyn Brawler looks like a Hall of Famer.
so like is it gonna be about as bad as Sin's two friends?
No. I don't know.
The Bushwhacker Gonna-Bees?
Yeah. So basically, the answer is no. None of them would have made it. Although Convict's brother was Cyrus, who had a more successful good run in XCW. Speaking of brothers, next up, Chase Luther. Or Chase Jones. We're talking about Chase.
So many chases.
I know,
Such
so many
little
chases.
time.
Chase Jones.
And it's going off the Kyle Victim thing. Jones.
Chris Jones is his brother.
Chase was decent at the time. And when I say decent, here was all of us, and here was Chase. Granted, he didn't have the training and all that. If Chase would have had the training that we did, he would have been there with us.
I think Chase's biggest thing was the age gap and the fact that him and his brother really aren't that close. They're closer now than they were in that time period.
And Chase, if he was in here now,
would stand over this curtain.
yes.
He's a tall guy.
Shit.
Really
me
cool
and Chase,
dude, though.
me and Chase are friends to this day. I still talk to him. I really like Chase. I like Chase more than I do Chris.
Who doesn't?
That's not saying much.
Don't know, I haven't met him.
You would like him
You would like him, yes.
a lot more than you do Chris.
But you think Chase would have been a success story?
Yes.
Speaking of Chris, next up, guys, Nathan Van Diver.
Nathan. It's like we said earlier, in an earlier Men of Honor. I think Nathan, he was good. His second stint, when we were retraining him, he was really good.
I thought
he had the match with you,
I thought it was better.
and he had those couple mishaps in that match, which it was his first match back,
Right.
and it was against you. That makes everyone sit there go, oh, fuck, I got to wrestle Fletch.
Right.
You know, the biggest critic of all of them. And
Right,
yeah, that would make you
I
nervous.
guess that would be nerve-wracking a bit.
You know, and then
What if your guys' first match would have been against me? What do you think?
Mine was. Well, no, it was Genocide.
Yeah.
But I was still dealing with you, Genocide, and Psycourt first.
and guess what? They were not good. They were not good. Was it the nerves?
Now you can throw me in there and let's do it.
But back on Nathan.
But Nathan, I think it was like we were saying, would he have been big? I think he was too small.
He was already big, though. I mean, honestly, he was thrown right into one of the
Untouchables.
biggest, most unknown groups in XCW history, the Untouchables. What would it have done for Nathan if he would have been his leader? That's when the Untouchables really took off.
Here's my things. Like I was saying in the other one, I think Nathan was only here because I was dating Kelly at the time,
His cousin, yeah.
and it was almost like well, I'm going, and you've already made this commitment to them, you're going too. Granted, there was times where Nathan actually called me and asked me to come. But would Nathan be as good and still be here? I don't think his commitment.
What do you guys think?
I'd have to agree with the commitment thing. I mean, his first stint was absolutely terrible. Like, I mean, it was terrible. And then when he came back the second time, he did a lot better. I told him, I was impressed with what he did out there. So.
Granted, he wasn't wrestling Colt Kravitz
Yeah.
second time around either. He's wrestling more known, right, like myself.
But I feel that if he had the commitment and he stayed around, he would have got better. But he wouldn't have been in a high position. I'd probably say he probably would have only been like New Age and maybe won the International. And he wouldn't have been any higher than that.
Next up is two main ones for you.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
First, Chaos. Cody Russell. An NWA star, an NAW star, big time.
He was
Came to
probably-
XCW from when we merged together. He came over, wrestled a solid match, got super kicked in the face, or super kicked someone.
He super kicked
Psychor in the face.
Yeah.
Solid match. Stint was one show. Why?
It wasn't me. Me and him were really, really good friends, and
But as many shots as you call, he couldn't stick around.
I wasn't then.
That's true.
Then I was just Hazard.
Is that the downfall of Steak Ray?
Yes. But Chaos in NAW was the name.
Right.
It was here the pecking order in NAW was myself, Chaos, probably Signet Cheney. Nick of Time.
Right, and then you go down the list of,
Tsunami and this
JJ
and
and right.
But
Ryan Riggs.
when Chaos came over to XCW, we were at that point of, we've always talked about this, where we were at the time. Where we were at the time, I think he was just a little below, maybe a little bit more, and that's where Psycor was at the time too. And that's where
right. Psycor was only a few shows in,
and I think if he would have still been here today, maybe at best an international.
even being a top star in your company.
Yeah, I think it was the main reason why he's the top star in my company is I didn't have a lot. Whereas now we got people constantly coming and going. I had a solid core group of
Right.
people, but it was only a very small.
Okay.
So you have to build with what you got. As, you know, me and you both have learned over the years, you got to build with what you got.
Right.
And that was who I got.
Okay, on the next note of that, the next person on here is one match in XCW history, Tsunami. We have talked about Tsunami on previous Men of Honors. The kid was amazing. He was amazing. He was so good.
Tsunami would have definitely been a big star. I think who would be Chris Jones if Tsunami would have stuck around?
Wow.
He didn't have the.
What about a
match skills at the
Tsunami and Corey Lee match, one-on-one?
time.
They have similar styles. Similar size, similar style.
I think it would, like how when Corey Lee came in, it was the high flying.
Right.
Now Corey's got more to the technical side.
Right.
Especially now since there's no more cruiserweights, he has to face people like me and you, and he's found that way.
Right.
Tsunami
He
also,
found a way to adapt, which is something that some people have a hard time doing.
Tsunami was another one of those people that could adapt. And I think it would be one of the... Okay, you want to talk about the... I gotta think of a really, really awesome match. Chris and Corey from SummerMania. Or this year, you talk about me and Tommy being solid. That match, if we put those two together and gave them a solid story behind it, I think it'd probably be almost more talked about than maybe Chris Jones and Cynical.
And Tsunami's only downfall was that he was a Hawaii native and moved back. Other than that, I think he would have stayed in XW.
At the time, he was also having problems though with his ability to, because we were so young.
Right.
And he was, 2 grades below me? Was he in your grade?
No, I don't think so. The
Below
2
you.
grades, he would have been below me.
So, yeah. He was still young. And it was hard for his mom to let him come. But if he was still here, I still am in contact with Tsunami every once in a while. Yeah, I think he would have been here.
This next one we'll only talk about briefly because that was how long his stint was, and that's all he's worth. Killing Kevin Kramer, KKK.
Next.
That was brought up in a freaking interview today.
I thought
I
about this
think
all
it was
day.
Emily's.
Worst gimmicks?
Yes!
Yeah, it
Yes!
God.
The gimmick was good, but the way it was with him, it was bad.
He basically
Started at the same time.
The gimmicks...
he was supposed to be the actual... Like, his character was still supposed to be different than Stevie Goebels. Stevie Goebels was a trailer park gimmick. His was a true-on Confederate
Redneck.
flag. We're going rabbit hunting, fucking...
Don't say it.
Rabbit?
We go rabbit hunting.
No, I thought you were going to say something completely different.
Gotta think of what it was.
It was
there.
fucking hillbilly. He would have hated him.
I knew him. I started at the same time as him.
Oh, I know, but
I went to school with him.
would he have made it? What do you guys think?
No,
Get taller,
Aren't you so sad you never got a chance to wrestle KKK?
If I wrestled him, I would have killed you.
The cool thing about KKK is that was the best stint Max Destruction ever had, because I just, every week literally had KKK and Psycho Circus Clown wrestle, and I just have Max randomly come out and kill both of them.
And if you want somebody who's bump like they died, it'd be KKK, because he was stiff as a board.
He used to do that bump all the time in practice. Well, I'll do a KKK bump. Speaking of people who can't bump,
You land and your feet would go like this.
KKK. Here's a funny story. KKK is the brother of Spitfire. Spitfire was good. KKK was not. Some people just don't have it, I guess. Next up, speaking of not having it, it's Nemesis.
Oh my god.
And I was not talking about wrestling skill, I was talking about brain.
Okay. We laugh about it, but you watched Nemesis progress in my training.
Right.
He was actually getting good, but you put him out there, and he just stood there.
I think he got too nervous. Is his problem? I think he was way too nervous.
Right.
And he's not all mentally stable.
Yeah, he's not.
Legit.
He's not all there, so.
Well, no, like I worked, like I would have worked with him when I worked at Shares.
I'm surprised that Michaela doesn't take care of you.
Oh. That's fucking terrible. Why would you say
bad.
that? That's bad.
Shelby Ball's run out of old people. Walmart needs greeters.
That's.
Oh my god,
No.
that's bad because there is one out there, and she actually said hi to me, and I know her because my sister used to watch her.
Oh.
So it's all safe to say that you are running in your hell.
He wouldn't have made it. Let's move on. Kevin Coots, the Extreme Cowboy.
Nope.
What went wrong?
Commitment.
Is it the fact that his nose touched his chin?
It could be. It very much could
And he's
be.
with a crazy woman now, so.
Kendra? Yeah.
Yeah, she's nuts.
Who the fuck are
Wait.
you talking about?
Cameron Coots.
Who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Oh, the guy that came out with the fucking.
You remember he goes, there, he runs out doing this? And then he had that move around up where he just like sat on people. See,
I'm drunk.
okay. Okay,
Here, have
I'm
more.
just gonna throw this out. Cameron Coots wasn't that great of a wrestler, but I was actually a Cameron Coots fan. I don't know why, but I liked Cameron Coots. I don't care what anybody says.
I lived with him
I
at the
think-
time when he was in
Did
and
he
out.
break his arm or something? Or his wrist or punch a wall?
I know he had a big swollen eyeball once. I don't know what that.
It might be after Ox beat his face in.
Oh, that was
there
it.
for that.
That
I
was
there
it.
for that. I watched it happen.
Cameron Coots, what do you think?
If Stevie
temper.
can get better, he could get better.
But
Stevie has a temper. Stevie does too. I've seen Stevie get mad. Stevie has a temper, and if he can control it in the
That would
ring,
be the perfect.
yeah, if he can control it in the ring and get better,
Nick Rage.
then Cameron Coots probably could.
I think the only bad thing, like, I was a fan of Cameron Coots, honestly. He was based off of a character I worked with in New Era of Mark Houston. But I think that Cameron Coots, like, it was just funny because he used one of those $3 cowboy hats from Walmart, and the vest that was too small. And that just probably killed it.
If he had a bigger vest than the actual hat,
It's just touched.
he would have been no harder than New Age if he stayed. No harder than New Age. He's crying. Like, he's legitimately crying right now. I see the tears go down his
This is
cheek.
the last Men of Honor we're gonna drink. Okay. No.
This is like the third time I've cried laughing today. There's Jeff Buster promo.
Next up, Jacob Cyanide. Highlight of the night. The highlight was when he left.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he was no highlight of the night. He was fucking
And
terrible.
what is so messed up is he was so good in practice.
Yeah.
He was so
And he
good.
even had spurts of being solid in his tag team match with Ox Cannon when he made his second one-time appearance, tagging up with Ox against Chris Jones and Psychor. Granted, he's going against Christian and the Psychor.
Psychor was very good in that match.
Yeah, it's hard to make somebody like Jacob Sideline look good because in his matches, those two matches. I mean, sure he was solid a bit in the second match, but other than that, he was terrible.
Right.
I mean, he can do good in practice, but when he goes out there and actually puts it on for camera, does a match for camera, he just doesn't have it. Are you
What?
drunk?
I'm listening.
Is that why you drink?
No.
This is gone. I know.
Are you drunk?
That was not all he drank. He also drank Emily's.
You alcoholic.
He drank the Smurf cum.
That too.
That too. But I was talking about the drink before that.
He did as
all
well.
the vodka, cranberry, and God, that
Am I the only person?
So
that
Jacob
that
Cyanide-
has any alcohol in their body today?
He even asked
Any alcohol in
me
my body.
after he did his one show in January.
yet.
He later messaged me in May
We'll work on it.
to ask if there was a show, and I never responded. Basically telling me he wasn't welcome back.
Yeah, I wouldn't respond to him either because he
Who?
would just show up one time and then not show up again.
Right. I do give him
We've
credit.
been talking to.
I do give him credit. He bailed us out. Kalen Kodiak.
Really is good name.
As good old Hazard here said,
I wanted to punch him in the face.
there has never been anybody he told to get out of practice before until Kalen Kodiak.
Well, I guess we don't
Not
have to
even-
spend much time on him then.
Not even Nemesis or Max Destruction.
To the flip side of that, someone who made very few appearances but was amazing. OGD.
God, OGD was
The
very
definition of
good.
black, but he was amazing.
Because he was black.
But he was so good. And his first feud right off the gate was with Chris Jones.
Don't be racist.
And they were awesome
He's
together.
Black people are athletic, man.
Don't be racist.
We had the wannabe and the real one.
They were great together.
He's athletic. He's
With
not.
Chris being the real one.
Don't be racist.
Right?
No,
What went wrong?
what went wrong is
That's
Shut the fuck
racist.
up.
what went wrong is OGD bettered himself. He was going into schools,
School, yeah, right.
And this and
just
that.
graduated.
so really can't say it was loss of heart or
Right.
commitment. It was he had other things he had to do.
And OGD did eventually make a one-night appearance for our 10th anniversary X-Rated just a few years ago. But nothing else came of it.
OGD be a huge star.
Absolutely. He'd probably be champ.
Who's Tommy Merriman?
Speaking of someone just like Tommy Merriman, similar, our last person that we're going to talk about is coming up, and that's the one that's going to be a standout. But right now we're going to talk about someone who wasn't necessarily a wrestler, but he's short-lived. He's great. He cracked me up. Scooter.
Peanuts. One of the most epic VCA promos that didn't involve me being naked.
Right?
Scooter was somebody who we knew in school.
Yep.
Seemed very, very interested. And then when he got to VCAs, he was actually going to be my, little lawyer or something, wasn't he?
Something like that.
Kind of like my little side guy. And he ended up not making it because of personal problems.
Right.
Now he only has 3 fingers.
Really?
Total.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
On
lost
one
these-
hand.
Yeah, he only has these 3 on one hand.
Wow.
That sucks.
Hey, but he can still grip.
Hey, it's the same. It's
Still grab a boob. He can still beat off.
corruption.
But I think Scooter would have been one hell of a manager.
He was basically Jeff Buster before Jeff Buster.
Yes. He's
Last-
allergic to chocolate.
Yep.
Could his catchphrase be "Take my
Peanuts.
strong hand"?
Next, final one,
Horrible.
D-Mac.
D-Mac was absolutely amazing. He was above us at that time.
Did you see the drool come off his lip at that time?
D-Mac
But
was above us.
it was true. He was better than everyone else in the company at the time.
He had a killer background story, killer gimmick, and just everything.
I shot that peep show with him, and he's talking about how he ripped Brooklyn, he was shot at, getting shot, blah, 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 blah. He never got shot, but he was getting shot at, blah, blah, blah. Like, he literally told this story and broke it down in the way. He was doing that for character. None of that really happened. And talked about how he moved to Anderson, he grew up a hard life, and then he came to Showville to wrestle at XCW. Genocide, who really isn't that gullible, was completely gullible to that story. I even sat there going, you can watch it, me and the peep show going, in the background I knew that it was his character. I'm the one that wrote the damn character. And he was the first ever television champion. Jumped on top of the ring at the time, fell off.
But
D-Mac was good.
he was way
Caught up in something that his character claimed to be a gangster, basically. Like, got caught up in drugs and gangs and...
So he went the James Cerebral path before James Cerebral.
So he went the legit path.
Right.
like he's living
His character.
Like thug life. Like super thug life.
Right.
where James Sherrill just kind of lives it fake.
Anyone else that we didn't mention that you care to mention? Or that you think deserves an honorable mention?
I want to say yes, but I don't. I want to say there's someone else.
Billy Dillon, but he's back already, so he's kind of a hidden as I'm wondering when the next miss is going to be.
John Streets would have been the only other one.
John Streets, yeah.
He showed promise for being a big guy.
Oh, absolutely. He's great. He was basically Hazard's replacement. That was what he was going to be.
He just has the commitment issues also. I mean, he obviously loves coming and hanging out and wrestling stuff. It seems like he really does have commitment issues.
I do feel like that
That's not everything.
Brandon and Tommy are on a personal level were to blame for that.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes with those three that didn't get to the show.
Right.
And I still don't know what happened, but I heard.
It's hard to trust somebody like Tommy.
True.
And then, I mean, Brandon's trustworthy. It's just sometimes he just doesn't think things through. That's what I'd say for Brandon.
His heart's too good for his own good.
The next time we're going to be here, we're going to be talking about character transitions. Until then, from James Kirky, Corey Lee, Ryan Grayson, Kenny Hazard Chaos, thank you for joining us here at XCW Men of Honor. Till then, good night. Yeah.